Yes, it's working. Okay, imagine being in the United States at the beginning of World War II. There's a war going on, way over there. But it's really of no concern to us right now. I mean, I'm from the U.S. I sort of know what we were thinking. That's the sort of mentality back in the 1940s. It was leave us alone. It was, we are over here. We're this big picture with the little funny-looking country on top of us, but that's us, and we're way over here. That's us, and they're way over here. I mean, look how big we are. Look how small they are. It's their problem, Leave them to themselves, We had already had problems with one war way over there, and we didn't want to be part of another. It didn't immediately affect us, and we're sort of fine with that. We're like, okay, it's not a big deal right now. We would let things be sorted out on their own and then deal with the results. Because World War II did not directly concern us, we had sort of attitude towards the war. We knew there was war and death and fighting, but we just said, well, you know what, we'll let things be. We'll let them sort it out. It's their problem. We'll just take a back seat. How very opposite from the U.S. doctrine, sort of international policy right now. Well, all of that changed December 7th, 1941, with the Japanese bombing of Pearl Harbor. The United States said, all right, we've had enough of this. It's time to go, lay the smack down, deal with this problem. We've had enough of this nonsense. It's time to go fight. The war had finally hit home and it mobilized us to act. We'd been attacked on our home front and were forced to fight. I think the U.S.'s position during the beginning of World War II, the first few years, to be rather interesting. I think are sort of, leave us alone, we don't want to be bothered by it, to be really interesting. I mean, we knew there was a worldwide war going on, but we didn't think it directly affected us. We just wanted to stay out. We had lost a lot in World War I and decided we had done enough. We said, okay, we solved your little problem in World War I, we'll just stay out of this one. Whatever. It's almost like we decided to opt out of any fighting for a while. We said, we've had enough, we're not fighting. Leave us alone. World War II had no immediate effect on us, and we thought because of that we could avoid the fighting. Well, one way or another, the war would have had influence on us. Had the Axis won, this is us, we get involved in World War II, and we say, okay, we're going to be involved now, and we know you guys have been fighting for a long time. Can you tell me who these people are? From left to right, let's go. Who's this? Stalin. Who's this? Roosevelt, FDR. Who's this? Churchill. Okay. These, I'm going to say, this is a bit of a history lesson. I majored in history in college, so these two guys fought the war for many more years, but we were like, you know what, we're going to come in, we're going to be in the center of all the pictures, we're going to sort of be the centerpiece here, we're coming to help you guys out, okay? This is the leader of Great Britain, this is the leader of Russia. But had the Axis won the war, this is the greatest extent, the gray area is the greatest extent of Germany Axis-controlled power during World War II. That's a lot. Okay? Had the Axis won, we had to deal with a nation that covered all this. Okay? That's a lot of people. Had the Allies won without us, we'd have been regarded with suspicion or contempt. You want to know why Spain's not a major world power? It's because they didn't do anything during World War II. They sort of were like, we have these mountain ranges here, we're going to stay neutral, stay away from us. We didn't think so at the time, but the unseen war way over there had a huge influence on us in the United States. Eventually it would get there, but we thought we could ignore it and have it go away. We said, they'll solve it and we'll just stay out of it. And ironically, many Christians today are in the same sort of mindset about the world we live in. The U.S. thought it could ignore World War II and be sort of fine. Said, okay, this is how the world shakes up afterwards, we'll be fine. They thought we could get away with it being okay, just leaving everything alone. And Christians today think they can ignore the war going on around us and be A-okay. Now here, I know a lot of people are going to pipe up and say, Pastor, what war are you talking about? You know, I don't see a war. I don't feel a war. I don't hear about wars. I mean, I hear the ones over in Iraq and Afghanistan, but I know you're not talking about those. What war are you talking about that we're supposed to be paying attention to? And whether we know it or not, there's a war going on around us. It's not a physical war, although sometimes it does involve the physical world. It does sometimes bleed over into that. It is a spiritual war raging around us that we are not privy to a majority of the time. It's a spiritual battle going on around us. We know about it, and we know that it happens because the Bible tells us about it. The Bible also tells of our role in it. It says all that's going on, who's fighting what. The Bible tells us of our role, and it's surely not a passive one. And the central passage we'll be looking at today is in Ephesians 6. Now this is my illustration of not paying attention to the war going on around you. This is sort of the big problem that we just sort of ignore, and we're like, oh look, we're here and there's no problems going on behind us. We think we can get away with not paying attention. And it's as foolish as this bird thinking it's not going to be eaten by this cat. Yeah. So anyway, the central passage we'll be looking at today is Ephesians 6. I encourage everybody, if you have your Bible, to flip there. If you have a pen on you, to highlight it or underline it. I encourage everybody to bring pens and highlighters and pencils and everything to church. The Bible is not meant to just be something you look at and say, let's keep it really nice. Don't crack the cover, just keep it perfect. It's not like that. I think if Jesus had a Bible, paper's expensive, but it'd be highlighted and underlined and circled and everything. He'd be making references all in the notes and side margins and stuff. But the central passage we'll be looking at today is in Ephesians 6. And here we're going to get insight into how we are to play our part in this battle we can't see. This is Ephesians 6, 10 to 13. It says, finally, be strong in the Lord and the strength of his power. Put on the whole armor of God so that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. For our struggle is not against enemies of blood and flesh, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the cosmic powers of this present darkness, against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly places. Therefore take up the whole armor of God so that you may be able to withstand on that evil day, and having done everything, to stand firm. Interesting. Let me start off by saying this passage isn't the first one in the Bible to let us know about the spiritual war raging on around us. If you read through the entire Bible and paid attention and not sort of done that whole thing where you read and you think about something else while you're reading, I'm champion at doing that. I do that in school all the time. I'd be reading something and I'd go, 10 pages have passed and I don't know what I've done. But if you pay attention while you're reading and really think about it, we see it all over the place in the Scriptures. If we look back into the books of the Old Testament, we see spiritual battles all over the place. You want good examples? Look in the books of Isaiah, Jeremiah, Ezekiel, Zechariah. All of these give us evidence of the unseen war taking place even before the time of Christ. It's littered throughout the Old Testament. Genesis we see it, Exodus we see it. We see weird stuff happening, and it can only be explained as a spiritual battle. And it was there in the Old Testament, and it's there in the New Testament as well. Look at the Gospels, letters of Paul, the Lord's Prayer. Let me give you a quick note. This is going to be a future sermon that I'm going to give sometime. The Lord's Prayer is, lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. That's what we say. It's not deliver us from evil, it's actually deliver us from the evil one. You want the better translation. It's deliver us from the evil one, the attacks of Satan and his armies. Deliver us from those. All of these things, you think about the life of Jesus and him fighting. There's always this dichotomy. What's Jesus doing? Is he doing the work of God? Is he doing the work of the devil? What is he doing? There's evidence of this unseen war all over the place. It has far-reaching ramifications, and it goes beyond even what we think. But here, focusing here, in this passage in Ephesians, this passage tells us point blank that our primary struggle is not of this world. Can't get away from that. Our primary struggle is not of this world. I'm going to go back 2 slides and show you.